Greetings, you jousting dummies. I hope you're doing well. My name is Graham, and welcome to the Crack-A-Pack here on LRRMTG. Please subscribe to the channel, where today we're being thrown to the Eldraine. Yes, it's a pack of Throne of Eldraine that was given to us by Ariel A, or Dinglehopper, at PAX Unplugged in 2019, which may have been the last PAX Unplugged we went to. I think it was. Bummer. But at time of recording, we will be going to Unplugged 2023, but at time of airing, that's probably in the past. Let's open some Magic cards. First up, Outflank. Single white mana for an instant. It deals damage to target attacking or blocking creature equal to the number of creatures you control. It seems like it would be good. And yet, I think this is one that you're not supposed to play, except it got me pretty frequently, so I don't know. I think it's maybe better than people wanted to believe that it was. Weird memories of Outflank. Opt is next. Single blue mana for scry 1, draw a card. Always love a good opt. Now, why might you want to play opt? Well, because in blue-red there was a draw a second card every turn sub-theme, and Bloodhaze Wolverine is just one of those cards. 1 and a red for a 2/1 Wolverine, so it's just it's a Goblin Piker with a different creature type. But whenever you draw your second card each turn, Bloodhaze Wolverine gets +1/+1 and first strike until end of turn. So it was always scary to block a Bloodhaze Wolverine, which I guess is true to life. If you see a Wolverine, like, you're already not having a good day. If it's like got glowing red eyes that also seem to be smoking, I mean, you should have started running, 3 minutes ago. Reaper of Night is our first adventure in the set that introduced adventures. 5 black for a 4/5 Spectre that says whenever Reaper of Night attacks, if defending player has 2 or fewer cards in hand, it gains flying until end of turn. But how will you encourage that to happen? I'm glad you asked. With the adventure, Harvest Fear. Does anyone remember the names of any adventures that aren't Stomp? There's like 3 or 4 adventures that were relevant in Standard, I think Stomp being the most relevant, and then there's a lot of great card names that are just sort of like lost to being adventures that no one remembers. Harvest Fear is a great name. It's a sorcery for 3 and a black, target opponent discards 2 cards. So it's Mind Rot, stapled to a creature that cares if your opponent doesn't have stuff in hand. Love Reaper of Night. Return to Nature. 1 and a green for an instant. Choose 1, only 1. Destroy target artifact. Destroy target enchantment. Exile target card from a graveyard. Return to Nature had already been printed previously as like, relics or artifacts or something being overgrown with moss or plants or whatever. So I love the interpretation in Eldraine that returning to nature means the carriage and horses turning back into a pumpkin and mice. I think that's a very, very clever reinterpretation of what that card means. Tall as a beanstalk. 3 and a green for a creature enchantment, and the enchanted creature gets +3/+3, has reach, and is a giant in addition to its other types. You ever lose the game to someone casting Tall as a Beanstalk? It didn't feel good. Vantress Paladin is next. 3 and a blue for a 2/2 human knight with flying. And Adamant, our first time seeing this particular rules word. If at least 3 blue mana was spent to cast the spell, Vantress Paladin enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. 2/2 flyer for 4, not great. 3/3 flyer for 4, yeah, that's fine. It wasn't a banger, but, it worked well. Adamant was neat. This set had interesting ways to encourage you to be monocolored, and yet I rarely saw people doing monocolored because there was decent fixing. But cards like Vantress Paladin are very cool, and I suppose Vantress Paladin's fine too. Idyllic Grange taps for white. Idyllic Grange enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other planes. When it enters the battlefield untapped, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So this was part of the cycle with Witch's Cottage and Gingerbread Cabin, I think. And this was probably the worst one. The black one got you a creature back on top of your library. The blue one got you an instant or sorcery back on top of your library. The red one made you a 1/1, and the green one made you a food. And this just gets you a +1/+1 counter, which seems a little lower powered than the rest of them, but oh well. I find this funny that tap to add white is technically reminder text, because this card is a plains, meaning it has that inherent quality. Because it says plains in the type line there, it can tap for white. But in case someone forgets, because it's a common, and it's unusual to see plains as a type on a non-basic that's monocolored or whatever, they put on it, by the way, just so you know, this also taps for white. I just find that interesting. Lochthwain Gargoyle. Now, being as there is not, you knew I was going to say this, that there's not water spouting out of its mouth, so technically it's a grotesque, not a gargoyle. You knew where I was going with that? Great, as long as we're all on the same page. It's a single mana for an artifact creature, Gargoyle. It's a 0/3.
I would argue that that's referring to the architectural feature, gargoyle versus grotesque, not the creature that is a magical gargoyle.
But yeah, that's the distinction. Is like a gargoyle is a grotesque that's also a water spout.
Yeah, or a gargoyle is this thing. Like, he's not an architectural feature. He's a creature that runs around and attacks people. He just happens to be named the same as the architectural feature.
Oh, okay.
Are you going to tell him that he's not a gargoyle?
Oh, no, I'd be running away.
He self-identifies as a gargoyle.
All right, fair enough. I'll grant you that.
You don't have water coming out of your mouth. It just spits on you.
Yeah. Okay, well, you got me there. Whomstever they are, they're a 0/3, and for 4 mana, you can give them +2/+0 and flying until end of turn. Maybe not an amazing card, but I'm also not going to tell them that. Reeve Soul. 1 and a black for a sorcery, destroy a target creature with power 3 or less. Good stuff. Always happy to run a Reeve Soul. Ooh, Revenge of Ravens. I love drafting Revenge of Ravens, ideally in multiples, but it's uncommon, so that was trickier than you might like. 3 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, that creature's controller loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Meaning it's just actively negative for them to attack you with a 1/1, because it doesn't do any damage. You're neutral and they're down a life. And this all resolves before combat damage. So, if you've never had an instance where you've got 2 Revenge of Ravens in play and they attack with 5 creatures and the stack on Arena just fills with triggers, I'd recommend it if you can make that happen. Love Revenge of Ravens. Probably not like a first pick, but big fan. Burning Yard Trainer. Burning Yard is hyphenated, meaning that they're a trainer in the Burning Yard, which isn't a place I'd love to train. I mean, I don't want to go in there untrained. Obviously. I would rather avoid the Burning Yard altogether. Thank you for asking. 4 and a red for a 3/3 human knight with trample and haste. And when it enters the battlefield, another knight you control gets +2/+2 and trample and haste until end of turn. Because Mardu, red, white, black, had the knights sub-theme in it. And so you could put together a pretty cool knights deck, which is why there was that weird, like the training yard, I think it might have been called. Not Burning Yard, but anyway, there was a land that just tapped for those 3 colors, but there wasn't like a cycle of fixing land. It was just that one for knights. I think it also might have only worked on knights. Anyway, this guy was fine. Definitely lost a few games there. Ooh, Beanstalk Giant. Good stuff here. 6 and a green for a star giant, and its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Its adventure, Fertile Footsteps, which is probably one of the other ones that people might be able to name from memory, is a sorcery. It's more expensive Rampant Growth. It's you search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. But it gets you more land. So it fixes, and it gets you more land, so it makes the giant bigger. It's good stuff. I like that Reaper of Night, basically Mind Rot, but more expensive because it's attached to another creature. This is Rampant Growth, but basically more expensive because it's attached to another creature. The adventures they're good stuff. That's a good one. We got a food token and a plains, but our rare is the Feasting Troll King. I hope you're in green. 2 green, 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 green. That is 6 mana, 4 of them green, for a 7/6 Troll Noble, the Feasting Troll King. It's got Vigilance and Trample, and when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, create 3 food tokens, because the king is hungry. Also, you can sacrifice 3 food tokens to return Feasting Troll King from your graveyard to the battlefield. But you may only activate this ability during your turn. Not as a sorcery. You can do it in combat, if you need to, on your turn only. Just an interesting timing restriction. That's very cool. The pack overall clocks in at a cool $1.65. The Feasting Troll King being 50-something of that, which is also what I would pick, because, you know, a 7/6 Vigilance Trample for 6 that does stuff with food and you can bring back from your graveyard. It's very cool. Revenge of Ravens is close behind. It's probably Feasting Troll King, Beanstalk Giant, and then Revenge of Ravens for me because of how I am. But I think the Troll King easily takes the cake, and the second cake and the third cake. He's a big fan of cakes. Hey, thank you, Ariel, for giving us this pack at PAX Unplugged. Appreciate that. If you want to send us a pack, you can do that to the address on your screen, or you can give us one if you see us at Magic Cons in 2024 and beyond. I don't know when you're watching this. But until next time, a reminder that everything we do here at Loading Ready Run is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, or by being here and watching. That is ultimately the most important. Until next time, I have been Graham, Paul's on tech, Matt edits these, Heather gets them online. Thank you all so much for watching. Talk to you next time.